I think you're doing a pretty good job. Let's hear your best Australian.
Yeah, you know, we might go for a tip in and take it for a
perfect.
skit.
It's the year of the rust. That's what this, dude.
The rusty truck.
Yeah, it used to be don't trust the rust, but this year it's in rust we trust.
In Oklahoma City, a sprawling metropolis where the asphalt hums beneath roaring engines, the culture of street racing runs deeper than tradition. It breathes through every cracked road, every distant echo of horsepower, and every quiet dreamer who hopes to carve their name into its history. Among those dreamers was a young man named Jeff Bonnet, known today as AZN. As a reporter following the heartbeat of this city, I watched his story unfold in the shadows of neon lights and under the unforgiving glow of street lamps. There was something dramatic about him from the very beginning, something raw, emotional, and quietly powerful. Oklahoma wasn't just his home. It was the unforgiving proving ground that shaped him, challenged him, and ultimately transformed him. His laughter echoed across the racing lots. His energy lifted the spirits of those around him. And even then, you could sense the heart-touching sincerity behind every engine he touched. This was the birthplace of a legend, long before the world ever knew his name. Jeff's early years were built on a foundation of love, discipline, and unshakable guidance from his father, Dennis Bonnet. Dennis, a Vietnam veteran with a steady hand and patient voice, did more than teach Jeff about cars. He taught him about life. Their bond was the kind reporters rarely witness, one that made even the toughest engines seem tender. When Jeff discovered a battered 1964 Chevy Nova priced at just over $1,000, Dennis didn't hesitate. He offered to lend Jeff the money, but insisted that every cent be repaid. It wasn't harshness, it was a heartfelt lesson in responsibility. And so Jeff began painting house numbers on curbs, going door to door, hustling under the Oklahoma sun just to make his father proud. Together, they restored that Nova, not as a project, but as a shared dream. The dramatic effort of watching them wrench, sweat, laugh, and bond over the car felt like capturing a rare moment of human connection. No one knew that soon, their story would take a heartbreaking turn. Tragedy struck with a cruelty that still resonates through the streets Jeff once roamed. His mother passed during his teenage years, leaving behind a void he tried to hide under humor and horsepower. Yet the emotional weight lingered. And in 2001, another devastating blow landed. His father Dennis suffered a fatal heart condition. Suddenly, Jeff and his sister Brenda were left orphaned. From the outside, many believed this would break him. But those who reported on his journey saw something different. Racing became Jeff's refuge, a way to stay connected to the memories of the man who taught him everything he knew. Each engine rev felt like a heartbeat of the past, each race a tribute to the love he'd lost. The streets became his sanctuary. And in that dramatic world of nighttime engines and smoky tires, fate was preparing to introduce him to someone who would change the course of his life forever. That someone was Sean "Farm Truck" Whitley. He was a seasoned racer, a quiet storm of experience and grit. When Jeff first approached him, it wasn't as two competitors. It was as two souls unknowingly searching for the same thing. Their chemistry was impossible to ignore. Their banter playful, their dynamics strangely heartwarming. Jeff brought youthful fire. Farm Truck provided grounding wisdom. As a reporter, watching them was like watching a father-son bond being reborn in the least expected place. A dimly lit racing lot where dreams are often burned into rubber. Their friendship blossomed into one of the most iconic duos Oklahoma had ever seen. They didn't simply race together. They healed together, laughed together, and rebuilt themselves through a shared love for speed and mischief. Then came the television cameras. When the producers behind Street Outlaws discovered Oklahoma's underground racing scene, they were hunting for adrenaline. What they found instead was authenticity, real people with real stories. And right there in the center were Farm Truck and AZN. When they debuted in 2013, viewers were instantly drawn to Jeff's dramatic presence. His charisma radiated through the screen, his humor broke tension, and his heart-touching sincerity made him a standout. The iconic C10 pickup, driven by Farm Truck and backed by AZN's relentless energy, became an emblem of their bond. They weren't the fastest. They weren't the most polished, but they were unforgettable. And as the fame grew, Jeff remained the same grounded kid from Oklahoma, someone who lived by loyalty rather than ego. Then came the car that would rewrite Jeff's identity on the show, the Dung Beetle. While other racers were pouring thousands into monstrous horsepower, Jeff chose a quirky, rusty 1970 Volkswagen Beetle. It was a decision that baffled some, amused many, and endeared him to fans across the country. Painted in shades of brown and green, modified piece by piece with passion and creativity, the Dung Beetle became a symbol of AZN's unconventional spirit. It wasn't the fastest car on the strip, but it didn't need to be. Reporters like myself watched fans fall in love with it because it represented something dramatic and deeply human: the underdog, the fighter, the car and the man who refused to follow the crowd. But producers wanted intense battles, explosive rivalries, and unpredictable outcomes. And Jeff, with his fun-first approach, didn't always fit the competitive mold. Eventually, he appeared less and less in official street races, not because he lacked heart, but because he chose authenticity over aggression. In 2018, Jeff and Farm Truck embarked on a new adventure, a spin-off show that finally gave them the freedom to unleash their imaginations. Street Outlaws, Farm Truck and AZN was everything fans hoped for: chaotic, creative, comedic, and filled with heart-touching moments. Their builds were wild, sometimes genius, sometimes bizarre, and always entertaining. They showcased who they were behind the scenes, two friends bonded not by competition, but by loyalty and love for the craft. Yet despite their passion, the show faced challenges. Promotion was limited, viewership inconsistent, and the direction sometimes unclear. Watching them navigate this struggle was emotional in its own right. They weren't failing, they were learning, growing. And when they eventually returned to the main series, it wasn't surrender, it was evolution. One of the most dramatic moments in their journey came at Australia's Summer Nats Festival. During a burnout event, their vehicle suffered a sudden mechanical failure. The truck veered violently out of control, crashing into a barrier in front of a stunned crowd. As a reporter covering the scene, the silence that followed was unforgettable. In that terrifying moment, fears surged. Would this be the chapter that ended their story? Miraculously, they emerged without injuries, shaken but alive. The emotional aftermath reminded everyone how fragile life is, and how easily passion can turn into danger. It became a turning point, a reaffirmation that their bond mattered more than the machines between them. Despite fame, Jeff has always guarded his personal life with near-heroic privacy. Rumors circulate about a woman named Lisa Lacey, a possible long-term partner, but Jeff never confirms anything. His social media offers only glimpses, soft smiles, shared scenes, nothing more. It's as though the man who built his career in front of cameras refuses to let them into the parts of his life shaped by vulnerability. And that in itself is heart-touching. In a world where everyone shares everything, AZN keeps something sacred. Today, Jeff Bonnet stands not just as a racer, but as a symbol of resilience. A man forged by loss, strengthened by friendship, and lifted by the love of fans who see him not as Farm Truck's sidekick, but as a legend in his own right. His future remains open. Will he chase titles or continue redefining what street racing can be? Whatever he chooses, one thing remains dramatically clear. AZN's legacy is already etched into Oklahoma's asphalt. He proved that a man doesn't need the fastest car to win hearts, that humor can heal wounds, and that life, like a finely tuned engine, can roar back after even the darkest nights. And as long as engines echo across Oklahoma City, his story will continue to inspire.